would like to dedicate the show today in the soul of the soldier that been found that after 10 years, because that's happened in Homat Magen, and Be'ezrat Hashem, that his soul gonna come to rest and peace in land of Eretz Israel. Also to be part of that joy that 3 beautiful girls come back to their family. It's very sad, I'm saying it's very, very hard, very, very deep heart. It's not simple, lo pashut. I don't want to judge, not Netanyahu. I'm not judging anyone, because Hazal tell us something very important. Lev sarim umelachim beyad Hashem. Rabotai, we have to understand what's happening today. It has nothing to do with Bibi Netanyahu. It has nothing to do with Biden. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with Qatar. It has nothing to do with Egypt. Whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu put in their head, that's what they have to do. Lev melachim v'sarim beyad Hashem. We just have to understand that whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu do, hakol letova. There's nothing that Kadosh Baruch Hu do that it's not good. So it has to be good, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see only good things from it. Rabotai, we're going to start, and Be'ezrat Hashem today, I want to finish chapter 17 from the book of Samuel 1. We have the Baal Koreh with us, Rabotai. So just to do a quick revision, what we learned. In chapter 17, we spoke about the war. We didn't learn about it yet, between David HaMelech and Goliath. We explained that David HaMelech didn't join the army with Shaul to go to battle, his older brother gone. Then the father sent them to bring them supply, because it took too long time, that for 40 days they was waiting and get teased, get mocked, get cursed, whatever you want to call it, by a Goliath. The Ishai sent David HaMelech to bring to his brothers food and etc., and to bring cheese to Sarah Elef, that's Yonatan. When David HaMelech came to the battle, he heard that Goliath cursing and swearing and embarrassing, mocking the Jewish people, and the the Almighty has v'shalom. And David HaMelech got cross, and he heard that Shaul will give his daughter to the one that's going to kill Goliath. David HaMelech, we explained, then stood up in the front of Shaul, volunteered for that job, and Shaul in the end accepted his thing, and David HaMelech gone and start to antagonize. Now David HaMelech working reverse psychology on Goliath and make him cross. And what's happened? Goliath fall into that trap, and David HaMelech stood in the front of him with a stick and with a stone, and Goliath said to him, "What, are you coming to fight with me like you coming to fight with a dog?" And David HaMelech here, by that he hold a stick and the stone, Hazal say that he antagonized and tried to hint to Goliath that he's a son of 100 men and also a dog, and that's what made Goliath completely mad. That's what made Goliath completely mad. And we reach to verse 47, and Be'ezrat Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Baal Koreh, verse 47.
Right.
Okay. וידעו כל הקהל הזה, כי לא בחרב ובחנית יושיע אדוני, כי לאדוני המלחמה, ונתן אתכם בידינו.
And all this assembly will know that not through the sword and spear does Hashem grant salvation. For unto Hashem is the battle, and he shall deliver you into our hands.
In this verse, the prophet explained that David HaMelech continued to antagonize Goliath, and he said to him, listen, you see that assembly? You're referring to the children of Israel, the Israeli soldiers, okay? They're going to see that the Almighty going to bring his salvation to me, not because I'm carrying a weapon, not because I have a sword or a spear or any other kind of weapon. And all the Jewish people will see the salvation of Hashem. And you have to understand, the Almighty, he is the man of war, Ish Milchama, okay? And not only in his hand, he is the only one can bring salvation. And here say that David HaMelech said to Goliath, because you despise the Jewish people, because you curse the Almighty and the Jewish people, the Almighty gonna bring you and your nation, gonna deliver you and your nation to my hand. Let's go to verse 48 and look what's happening. והיה כי קם הפלישתי, וילך, ויקרב לקראת דוד, וימהר דוד, וירוץ המערכה לקראת הפלישתי.
It happened that when the Philistine arose and moved closer towards David, that David hurried and ran to the line towards the Philistine.
What's happening here? The prophet tells us that David, that make Goliath so angry, now Goliath that heard what David HaMelech told him could not understand what does it mean Hashem Ish Milchama. The Almighty is the man of war. And he was so cross that he started, although that he had those armored clothes, remember that we explained that make him very heavy, that it was very heavy for him to walk. Although that David HaMelech that antagonized Goliath, he started to walk fast towards David HaMelech. When David HaMelech saw that, David HaMelech didn't wait. David HaMelech now got a lot of courage and start running towards Goliath. And that's the Hidush here. The David HaMelech in that precise moment that showed that Goliath now getting cross, he realized that he achieved what he have to do. He done what he have to do. And now it's the time to finish the job. What is David HaMelech do? Run closer. Why did David HaMelech have to run so closer to him? Now, that was a match between him and Goliath, but why to come so close? Now we'll see. In verse 49, reveal to us why David HaMelech got closer to Goliath. וישלח דוד את ידו אל הכלי, ויקח משם אבן, ויקלע, ויח את הפלישתי אל מצחו, ותטבע האבן במצחו, ויפול על פניו ארצה.
David stretched his hand into the sack. He took a stone from there and slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead. The stone penetrated his forehead and he fell upon his face upon the ground.
Okay, we're going to explain here what happened. First of all, the prophet tells us that David HaMelech put his hand inside his sack and he took one stone. Why one stone? David HaMelech had 5 stones that he took with him. And he put one on a sling. Now, you shoot one at a time, or you can shoot 2 at a time on a sling. But the prophet makes sure that he tells us that David took one stone. What's happening here? Rabotai, we have to understand what's happening here. David HaMelech took 5 stones, we explained. There was special river stone, the very hard stone. What's happened? David HaMelech Hazal explained that here happened a miracle. David HaMelech, when he ran towards Goliath, he said, Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And the word Echad he focused that Aleph in Gematria is one, that the Almighty is one. Het is in Gematria 8, that the Almighty in charge about the seven heaven and on earth. And Dalet, that it's four, that the Almighty in charge on the four side of the world, north, south, east, west. And on that word one, David HaMelech focused that all the 5 stone, that he took 5 awards, the name of the Almighty, that there is only one God, they will turn to one stone and a miracle happened. And the 5 stone turned to one stone. He put it on a sling and he shot the stone. What's happened? The stone penetrated the armored visor. How did it manage to penetrate the visor of the helmet, the steel helmet of Goliath? That's the question that we have to explain. And then we explain about the fall of Goliath. But first we have to explain how that stone managed to penetrate the visor, the guard of the helmet. The Radak, Rabbi David Kimhi, that we explained that he's from France. He born 848 years ago in France. He explained when David HaMelech have a debate with Goliath, okay? You remember what's happened. David HaMelech, when he stood in front of Goliath, he teased Goliath. Goliath said to him like this, I'm going to kill you, and not only that, I'm going to leave you on the field that the birds of heaven going to eat you, those wild birds. And he looked up to the heaven, and the visor got open. And when he looked back at David, he forgot to put a guard. And when David HaMelech shot with the sling, the stone penetrated straight to the forehead of Goliath, killed him, and he fell on the floor. That's the interpretation of the Radak. But the Midrash bring completely different opinion. The Midrash explain what's happened. The Midrash explain that David HaMelech, when he put the stone, he spoke to the angel of the steel. And he said to him, listen, we Jewish people circumcised. That Philistine is uncircumcised, him and his nation. I promise you that if you make sure that the visor will stay open, now David speaking about the angels of the steel, because we explained that there's angel for everything in earth. There's angel that's in charge about the stone, about steel, about rocks, about trees, about dogs, animals, everything. David HaMelech said to him, the Jewish people get circumcised. We are allowed to do circumcision with a sharp stone, with a sharp wood. But I promise you, if you open the guard, the visor of the armored helmet of Goliath, all the Jews from now on, because they have to do circumcision, Brit Milah, they'll do it with a steel. The angel of steel accepted that, and the visor got open, and David HaMelech, when he shot the stone, it penetrated straight through the forehead of Goliath, and he fell on his face. Now I would like to speak about his face. Why did he fall on his face? Usually when someone gets hit, he falls backwards, not forward. So I'm going to bring 4 different opinions on that to explain the miracle that happened with that. Rashi HaKadosh, that born in the city of Troyes 985 years ago in the north of France, he explained by that when David HaMelech shot the stone and penetrated to the head of Goliath, okay, it was so strong that when it penetrated to the head, of Goliath, he should fall backwards, not forward. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle that David HaMelech, when he come to chop the head of Goliath, he doesn't have to walk extra few steps. Why? Because we explained that Goliath was 5 meters tall. To save David HaMelech walk extra steps, he fall forward. The Radak, Rabbi David Kimchi explained, you know why did he fall forward? Because the mouse that Goliath, that curse, that swear on the Almighty and the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to bury that filthy mouse in the ground. That's how the Radak explained. The Malbin, Rabbi Meir Michael Leibush Yehiel Weiser, he born in Ukraine 216 years ago. He explained why did Goliath fall forward. I'll tell you why. It was as a result of a weakness. What do you mean result of a weakness? The Zohar HaKadosh explains something extraordinary. The Zohar HaKadosh explained when the visor got open, David HaMelech looked at Goliath in the eyes, and he done ayn around him. Goliath immediately got leprosy. When he got the leprosy, and that shock from the sling that came, and David shot the stone from the sling, hit him so hard, wow, he fell forward. And that was the Hidush. So from here we see that even the shooting of the sling wasn't just like people imagine, was also in a miracle that Goliath fell forward. And that's the secret behind all of it. But it's not the end. You'll see that until David HaMelech managed to chop his head, there is another stage. Let's go to verse 50 and 51. We're moving on. Let's see what the prophet tells us. And in verse 50, we're going to read 50 and 51. Jeffrey?
Yep.
ויחזק דוד מן הפלישתי בקלע ובאבן, ויח את הפלישתי וימיתהו, והחרב אין ביד דוד. וירוץ דוד ויעמוד אל הפלישתי, ויקח את חרבו, וישלפה מתערה, וימיתהו ויכרות בה את ראשו, ויראו הפלישתים כי מת גיבורם וינוסו.
Right. Thus, David overpowered the Philistine with a slingshot and stone. He smote the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in David's hand. David ran and stood by the Philistine. He took Goliath's sword and drew it from its sheath, having already killed him, and he cut off his head with it. The Philistines saw that the hero was dead, and they ran away.
Here, the prophet in these 2 verses explained to us something extraordinary. After David HaMelech managed to bring Goliath down to kill him, David HaMelech wanted to chop his head. David HaMelech walked towards Goliath. He saw his sword in his holster, but he couldn't take it out. It was a special trick how to pull the sword out. David HaMelech didn't know how. You remember that we explained that Goliath had a person, a boy, that used to carry the shield and the spear in the front of who? In front of Goliath to protect him. David HaMelech said to him, who was that boy? Asked the Mefarshim, who was that boy that we're talking about? Hazal explained that that was Uriah Hittite. Uriah Hittite will explain what's happened with him. David HaMelech approached that boy, wasn't a boy, he was a soldier, and said to him, listen, if you're going to convert, I promise you, I'm going to give you a Jewish woman. You're going to marry the Jewish woman. Uriah Hittite got convert, and then David HaMelech makes sure that he married a Jewish woman. He said to Uriah Hittite, explain to me the secret how to pull that sword from the holster. Uriah Hittite showed David HaMelech. David HaMelech took the sword of Goliath, chopped his head, and picked it up and showed it to all the nation of the children of Israel, the soldier of the Israelis, okay, the children of Israel, and to the Philistines. And when the Philistines saw that, they ran away. Hazal asked, we explained that that was Uriah Hittite. Uriah Hittite converted, and later on, David HaMelech given him a wife. It was a debate who was that man. The Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, the great eagle, he born in the city of Cordova, we explained 889 years ago, in 890 years ago, in Spain. He said that was Uriah Hittite. Come his son, Rabbi Abraham Maimon, the only son of the Rambam. He born in Egypt, we explained. He born around 836 years ago. He said that what my father say, and I heard it from him, and he told me that that carry Goliath shield, that was Uriah Hittite. And David HaMelech, okay, later on, find him after he converted, giving him a wife, a Jewish wife. By the way, David HaMelech being punished for that. The Kadosh Baruch Hu said to him, David, who given you a right to give a Jewish woman to a Gentile? Now, that he converted. But since when you become in charge, who's going to get a Jewish woman, who's not going to get a Jewish woman? That's a different subject. So from here we see what's happened here. David HaMelech didn't know how to pull the sword from the holster. Uriah Hittite, that was the carrier of Goliath, explained to him, show him how. And that's how David HaMelech managed to draw the sword of a Goliath and to kill. Okay, in verse, now we're going to move on to verse 52 and 53. And here we see something very interesting, what's happened immediately after that, because the Philistines immediately start to flee, start to run away. They flee all over, they run away. The prophet tells us in verse 52 and 53, ויקומו אנשי ישראל ויהודה, ויריעו וירדפו את הפלישתים עד בואכה גיא, ועד שערי עקרון, ויפלו חללי הפלישתים בדרך שערים, ועד גד ועד עקרון, וישובו בני ישראל מדלוק אחרי הפלישתים, ויישאו את מחניהם.
The men of Israel and Judah rose up and shouted exultingly and pursued the Philistines up to the approach to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. Philistine corpses were strewn along the Sharim road until Gath and Ekron. Then the children of Israel returned from pursuing Philistines and plundered their camp.
What's happening here? We have to explain. Something extraordinary happened here. When the Jewish people, the Jewish soldiers saw what's happened, immediately that something extraordinary happened. What's happened? The soldier of the nation of Israel and Judah. We explained that Judah didn't accept Saul as a king on him because they knew that king had to come from the tribe of Judah. They all cheer up. They was all excited. Immediately they start chasing Palestine. And the prophet given us detail exactly until where they chased them, until a place that called the guy, and from there to the city of Ekron, and continue to the city of Sha'araim, and on the way, that while they was chasing them, they were killing them on the way. But something very interesting happened in the end. On the way back, after they managed to defeat the Philistine and to chase them back, on the way back, you remember that we explained that the Philistine took and built their camp where? In the territory of Judah. And the Jewish people were so frightened of the Philistine that they left it. On the way back, the Jewish people came on the way to Jerusalem because the territory of Judah is just outside Jerusalem. Okay, outside the not Jerusalem, outside the Bet HaMikdash, where's Har HaMoriah. They destroyed the camp of the Philistine. And that was already a sign that David HaMelech here created a big victory for the Jewish people with the help of the Almighty. By that they wasn't frightened anymore. The soldier of Israel and the soldier of Judah, they managed to defeat the Philistine and also to destroy the camp that the Philistine, when they invaded part of Jerusalem from the south. In verse 54, the prophet tells us something very interesting. ויקח דוד את ראש הפלישתים, ויביאהו ירושלים, ואת כל כליו שם באוהלו. What's happening here? בכבוד, Jeffrey.
David took the head of the Philistine and eventually brought it to Jerusalem. And his weapons he put in his tent.
What's happening? What exactly happening? It says something very interesting. As I'll explain, that let's start with the prophet. The prophet tells us that David took the head of the Philistine and from Emekaela, where he chopped his head, after he continued to chase, then he took the head and he was walking with the head in his hand with all the weapon of Goliath on him. And he was walking from city to city until he arrived in Jerusalem, okay? And he wanted to tell the Jewish people, you see that man that you was frightened? That's the man that make you scared. He's not going to make you scared anymore. When he arrived in Jerusalem, he took the weapon of Goliath. Where did he put it? As I'll explain, he put it in his tent. Where was his tent? As I'll explain that he took it to Nov. Where was Nov? Nov was in Jerusalem. Why? Because that where was the tabernacle. That where was the Mishkan. Okay? But David HaMelech took it to where? To his house. There is a debate here between the Mefarshim. Where did he put the weapon? According to one opinion, he put it in his tent. Where was his tent? In Bethlehem. That's where his father lived. Another opinion say, no, he took it to Jerusalem. Okay? So, vice versa. According to the Radak, Rabbi David Kimhi, he took it to Jerusalem. Okay? According to the Malbim and the rest of the Mefarshim, no, he took it where? To Bethlehem, and that's where he kept the weapon of Goliath. Okay, there's two different opinions where the weapon of Goliath been stored. Let's go to verse 55, and we're going to read until the end, until 58. And here we see quite a big of a discussion, a big debate. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I try to explain the debate. It's a long debate, but Be'ezrat Hashem, I try to explain. וכראות שאול את דוד יוצא לקראת הפלישתים, אמר אל אבנר, שר הצבא, בן מי הנער הזה? אבנר, ויאמר אבנר, חי נפשך המלך, אם ידעתי. ויאמר המלך שאול, אתה, בן מי זה העלם? וכשוב דוד מהכות את הפלישתי, ויקח אותו אבנר, ויביאהו לפני שאול, וראש הפלישתי בידו. ויאמר אליו שאול, בן מי אתה? הנער, ויאמר דוד, בן עבדך ישי בית הלחמי.
When Saul had seen David going forth towards the Philistine, he said to Abner, the minister of the army, Abner, whose son is this lad? And Abner replied, by your life, O king, I don't know. So the king instructed him, you ask whose son this youth is. So when David returned from smiting the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, while the head of the Philistine was still in his hand. Saul said to him, whose son are you, young man? David replied, the son of your servant, Yeshai, the Bethlehemite.
What's happening? Many of the Mefarshim ask question number one, Shaul, just few minutes ago, you have a debate with him. That can he kill Goliath? Can't he kill Goliath? Shaul, don't you know who's your musician? Don't you know who's your musician? Who's playing for you the violin? Why do you have to ask the minister of defense, the minister of the army, the chief of the staff, whatever you want to call it, Avner? And then you say to Avner, okay, go, okay, and check who's that youngster. What does it mean, go and check who's that youngster? What is all of that debate here? So, Rabotai, here, there is a big explanation. I'm going to try to explain it as simple as I can. When Shaul saw that David HaMelech killed Goliath and chopped his head, he said to his minister of defense, this youngster have a quality of a king. Azan, in a Gemara in Masechet Yevamot, in the end of page 76, folio 2, and at the beginning of 77, folio 1, explain that it was a debate between Shaul, the king Saul, and Avner. Shaul, the king, said, I see that youngster have a quality of leadership. He have a lot of courage. I saw how he gone to fight. He was full of courage. He have a quality of a leadership. Okay? And not only that, when I given him my armored clothes, look at me, I'm a big, tall man. He's a youngster. He's a short one. Fitted him perfectly. Maybe that man, that youngster, that's what the prophet Samuel told me that he's going to take my position to become a king. And here come the key. Who heard the debate. Who had the debate behind all of it? Mr. Doeg Adomi. Who was Doeg Adomi? We explained Doeg Adomi was the Rosh of the Sanhedrin, the highest authority of the Jewish people. Doeg Adomi said to Avner and to King Saul, before you debating if he deserves to be a king or not deserves to be a king, you have another question to ask. Ask if that youngster deserves to be part of the Jewish people, referring to David HaMelech. Who heard that? Avner. Avner, that was the Minister of Defense for Shaul HaMelech, the Chief of Staff. You'll see that he was a great Talmid Chacham, not just a fighter. He said to Doeg Adomi, he said, what do you mean by that? Doeg Adomi said to him, you know who was his grandmother? His grandmother was Ruth Moabiyah, the Moabite, Ruth the Moabite. He looked at Shaul. He said, is that who you want to be a king? You think that he deserves to replace you as a king? And here Doeg Adomi already planting the poison, planting the seed of poison against David HaMelech. Where? On Shaul. But that's not the end. Wait. Avner start to have halachically debate with Doeg Adomi. He said to him, listen, what the Torah tells us like this. מואבי ולא מואביה, אדומי ולא אדומי. לא יבוא בקהל עמך, לא מואבי ולא אדומי, אפילו דור עשירי. What does it mean? Avner said to Doeg Adomi, listen, the Torah tells us Adomi and Moavi. What does it mean? Adomi, Moavi, in a female. He did it in a male, not in a female. So the Torah tells us that only the male of the Moabite and the male of the Ammonite not allowed to convert. Said to him, Doeg Adomi, is that so? Tell me, the Torah tells us a mamzer not allowed, לא יבוא ממזר בקהל עמך אפילו דור עשירי. A person that is a mamzer not allowed to be part of the Jewish nation. Huh? What does it say there? Mamzer. It's in masculine, not in feminine. So you want to tell me that if it's a mamzeret, if it's a female, that she's a mamzeret, is she allowed to come? He said, no. He said, but, said to him, Avner, I'll answer you, no. The Torah tells us why was the reason that the male of the Ammonite, the male of the Moabite not allowed to get convert. I'll tell you why. Because when the Jewish people came, they didn't welcome the children of Israel with water and bread. He said, that's right. The male should give to the men, and the female should give to the Jewish females. But the Moabite female and the Ammonite females didn't welcome the women of Israel. Shaul here saw that Avner can't answer Doeg Adomi. What did he say to him? Go check. Who's that youngster? What does it mean, go check who's that youngster? Go check if David HaMelech deserves to be a king, can be a king, is he part of the Jewish people or not? What did he say to him? Go to the prophet Samuel. He gone to the prophet Samuel. When he walked to his house, the prophet Samuel said to him, Avner, I know exactly why you're here. You come to ask me if David the son of Ishai, David HaMelech, the son of Ishai, is he part of the Jewish nation or not? Is his mother conversion hold up or not? Avner said to him, how did you know? He said to him, let me tell you something, Avner, and listen to me carefully. Doega Adomi, Ado, that is Rosh Hashanah, Ado, that is the higher authority in a Jewish religion, he's a wicked person. And you mustn't listen to him. He said, Kol Gvuda Bat Melech Pnima. The Jewish woman, Jewish should not walk outside. Therefore, the Moabite woman and the Ammonite woman should not go and welcome the Jewish woman. It's the job of the man to feed the male and the female and the children. Therefore, the decree was only on the male. While there was debating, happened here something very interesting. While Shaul HaMelech while the prophet Samuel explaining to Avner to tell Shaul that halachically debate, who walked in? The Midrash tell us something extraordinary. And that moment, Yitra HaIshmaeli walked in. Yitra Ishmaeli was Ishmaelite woman. Nachon, in the Tanakh, he says Yitra Israeli, but he was an Ishmaelite. He used to listen to the lecture of Ishai, the father of David, and he loved the Torah and he converted. Later on, Hazal explained, and the prophet said, that he married Abigail. Abigail was the sister of David HaMelech. That David HaMelech also have a daughter, Abigail, but that's not the point. He married Abigail, his sister. That means Ishai have a daughter, Abigail, and he gave it to Yitra HaIshmaeli. While Avner and the prophet Samuel have that debate, and the prophet Samuel explaining to Avner, listen to me carefully, you to go now to King Saul, and you're telling him what I'm telling you, that David HaMelech is a kosher to be part of the Jewish people. David HaMelech is deserved to be a king. You're listening to me, he said to him. While he's explaining to Avner, Yitra Ishmaeli pulled his sword and he stuck it on the ground, shoved it into the ground. And he said, whoever not going to listen to that psak halacha, the paskin halacha of the prophet Samuel, will be stabbed by that sword. That means, Yitra Ishmaeli said to Avner, if the prophet paskin the halacha, that David HaMelech is 100%, his lineage is 100% kosher, and he can be part of the Jewish people, he can be 100%, he's 100% Jew, because his grandmother was a Moabite, his grandmother was a Moabite. Therefore, you to go and tell King Saul that nothing wrong with David HaMelech. David HaMelech is 100% lineage, and he's from the tribe of Judah. And that was the discussion, the halachically debate, what it spoke here towards the end. But that didn't end. After Avner heard what the prophet Samuel had to say, Avner gone to Shaul, given him the fact what the prophet said. Shaul HaMelech, what did he say to him? He said to him, Vayomer Shaul to Avner, go and bring David to me. Go bring me King David. Avner brought David to Shaul, and David stood in front of King Saul. And he asked him, who you are? He said to him, I'm your servant David, the son of Ishai. when Shaul heard that David HaMelech speaking humbly to him, he took David HaMelech, hugged him, and took him into his house. And in the next verse, we learn that he's going to give him his daughter Michal as a wife. We'll see that there is a halachically debate. We'll explain that between if he married Meirav, because Shaul had two daughters. The older one was Meirav, the youngster one was Michal. And we explained that Shaul HaMelech promised whoever gonna kill Goliath, he's gonna give him his daughter. There is later on, we'll speak Be'ezrat Hashem next week, the debate that was there, if he married Meirav because Shaul given him Meirav and then he moved to Adrai. There's a different story. We'll explain all the halachically debate. But to finish what's happened here, Shaul HaMelech took David HaMelech, took him to his house, okay, and he became part of the royal family. But that didn't end up, because from now on, who's against David HaMelech? Who putting and planting all the poison in the heart of King Saul? Doeg Adomi. Doeg Adomi was so jealous of David HaMelech, as I'll explain, that he makes Shaul hate David HaMelech. He make King Saul hate David HaMelech so much. Not only that, we'll see in the next chapter that Shaul, not only that he hated David HaMelech, was very frightened of David HaMelech. So if we summarize that verse, we see that David HaMelech here was already the first steps as a king after he'd been anointed by the prophet. Okay, now it was the first steps to walk towards what? To become a king. Now, Rabotai, we have to understand, the kingship of Shaul HaMelech was only 2 years. So many of you are going to ask, wait a minute, so many wars Shaul had in his life, so much headache he had. Yes, but we have to understand that David HaMelech took over only after full 2 years that Shaul was a king. Now, that David HaMelech been anointed by the prophet as a king, but he didn't act yet as a king. David HaMelech been anointed as a king, but he's still not the king of Israel yet. It was stages. HaKadosh Baruch Hu make it specifically. We'll see in the next verse. How did HaKadosh Baruch Hu bringing up David HaMelech that the entire Jewish people would love David HaMelech? The same like happened with Shaul HaMelech at the beginning. Before Shaul HaMelech didn't listen and didn't obey the mitzvot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, here we see something extraordinary. Here we see that David HaMelech already put his feet in the house of Shaul. He became part of the royal family. He entered the royal family. And that was the first steps towards David to become a king. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu planned everything. Nachon, that sometimes we take initiative, we have to do the ishtadlut, personal effort, but it's not up to us. Rabotai. David HaMelech, the character of David HaMelech, if you look at it, David HaMelech was very humble. Chazal said 3 people supposed to be the most humble men on earth. And the acronym is Adam. Aleph, Daled, Mem. Aleph is Avraham Avinu, David HaMelech for Daled, and Mem Moshe Rabbeinu. Who was the most humble man? We know that was Moshe Rabbeinu. David HaMelech David HaMelech already been anointed. He's a king. He can say to Shaul, the prophet anoint me. I don't have to listen to you. I'm a king myself. He can rebel against Shaul. No. David HaMelech, listen. And he said to Shaul HaMelech, I'm your servant. I'm David, the son of Ishai, your servant. Whatever you need from me, I will serve you. Say, Hazal, the Mefarshim explained that from here you have to understand. A person always has to behave with the most humbleness, which was modesty. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loved modest and humble people. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw the quality of David HaMelech, that's why he put him there. And now it was a test for David HaMelech. And we'll see in the next verse, in verse 18, what was the test. David HaMelech brought the salvation to the Jewish people. He holding the head of Goliath in his hand. Everyone loved David HaMelech. David HaMelech brought the salvation. David HaMelech chased with the army, the Philistines, to kill them. The people loved him. David HaMelech can cause a coup in a split of a second to take the place of Shaul. David HaMelech waiting and obeying the order of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When it's the right time, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu will tell me to do, I will do. I'm not going to take what not belong to me yet. Nachon that I'm a king. I'm a king. That's one thing. But I didn't get the permission from the Almighty to take over. David HaMelech continued to be modest. David HaMelech walked all over the cities of Israel. Why? To bring the confidence to the Jewish people. Because all the Jews was frightened from the Plishtim. What's going to happen with them? What they going to do to them? What is that Philistine, Goliath, going to do to the Jewish people? Chas v'shalom. That he wanted to turn them all to slave. David HaMelech saved them. What David HaMelech do? Walk all over the city, comfort the Jewish people. From that man you was afraid. You see, here is his head in my hand. Hold him by his hair. You don't have to worry anymore. There's nothing to worry anymore. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the salvation. And I think the message in this chapter is to teach us that nachon that we have to go to war. David HaMelech have an army. Moshe Rabbeinu have an army. But we have to understand it's not the weapon what's going to give us the victory. It's not the sword. It's not the spears. It's not the F-16. And it's not the Apache chopper. It's not the tank. It's not the bombs that we're waiting to accept from America. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide that we're going to have salvation, He's going to bring to us. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to give us the victory, we will get the victory. Rabota, in a split of a second, those three beautiful girls come back home. Baruch Hashem that they're alive. May please God will see many more live hostages coming back. But we have to understand, and we can't blame Bibi for that deal with the Hamas. We can't blame Biden. We can't blame Mr. Trump. We can't blame anyone. Yes, they put us under the truck, if you want to call it like this. But it wasn't them. Lev melachim vesarim beyad Hashem, says Shlomo HaMelech. The prophet, the King Saul said, King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech said, the heart, the wisdom of king, ministers, It's all in the hand of Kadosh Baruch. And it's not only them, it's what we see in this country, we see all over the world, that they can't see that what the Hamas done to us before and what we doing is right. All the world is against us. All because Kadosh Baruch Hu put it in their head. But we have to remember one important thing, and with that I'm going to end. En davar ra yored min hashamayim. There is nothing bad coming down from heaven. Whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu do is good. Maybe we can't see it in that precise moment, but in the long run, we'll understand that it was only for the good of the Jewish people. Because Kadosh Baruch Hu is our Father, the same like a father wouldn't harm his kids, his child, Kadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't harm us. To us, maybe it's bad. The same like a father said to his son, listen, you wear a Shabbos clothes. Don't play outside in the mud. You're going to make your clothes dirty. And the son jumped on the mud and he make his clothes dirty. So the father had to give him a bit of a potz and a tochas. Why? The father hated him? No, the father wanted discipline not to do that. Rabotai, we have to understand and we have to have that belief in us. It's very difficult. That what's happening today, all from the Almighty, and it's only for the good of the Jewish people. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show us miracle and will turn the same like we're going to read in a Parsha, that it was a split of a second how HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed the Jewish people. When did it happen? When they start Vayzaku El HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when they start lifting their eyes and crying to the Almighty. When we're going to lift up our eyes to heaven and we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not Biden, it's not Trump, it's not the weapon, it's only you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will redeem us in a split of a second. Be'ezrat Hashem.